Big house.
Hello, and welcome again to Tiernaur, to the launch of the book. I have to do some... Because we're going to start. Yeah. Can you hear us in the back? Can you hear us back there? Yep. Well, welcome to Tiernaur. There's going to be a full afternoon tonight. We're going to have speeches, and we're going to have poems, and we're going to have recitations, and we're going to have songs and a little bit of music. So we'll play another couple of tunes, and then we'll hand it over to our Master of Ceremonies and Chair of the Tiernaur Oral History Group, Karen Dyra. But first we'll play a couple of tunes and maybe sing one song, and then we'll pass it on. So hang around. You're going to hear some songs, particularly there's going to be some songs in the book. Some of these haven't been sung for over 100 years, so it'd be worth waiting for, I hope.
Chapter 3 basically goes into the War of Independence and gives great detail of Kilmina and Skerdiff ambushes. The support of the local community is very well documented. The safe houses for those on the run. Imagine the challenge for a village where a group of 30 plus men arrive with no notice, hungry, tired, muddy, and drawing danger from the enemy on their kindness and support. These were small houses with the challenge of everyday life. Every village would have had its share of young people, young children, older people, and no spare rooms made up. No abundance of anything other than their support for the men and the cause. Other times, there was the need to shelter and cater for somebody who was injured, ill, or exhausted. Michael Chambers' poem, which is just recited in terms of forgotten heroes, enlightens to the role played by the old lady, the tired old man, the young fair maid, the fearless child, and the mountain man. I like in terms of within the book where it talks of Willie Cummins, a young child in the house when it was being raided after an ambush, quickly gathered bullets under an upturned bucket, sat on it. No one moved him to look and at what he was sitting on. For me, the handwritten Sinn Féin court register extracts in this chapter is a great example of the rich material held locally and is now shared through the book. And apart from the generosity of the local community, there was a need to raise funds, and the details of the tax imposed on alcohol is outlined there as well. So during the truce period, the training camps continued, highlighting the lack of confidence in a political solution. It is recorded that there were 16 training camps across Mayo in the truce period. And within the book we have the photographs of Sheehan Lodge in Ballycroy, in Ballycroy. And one person, Michael Kilroy, is in uniform in it, because wearing the uniform was a breach of the truce rules. So then go on to the Civil War period. And there's a great description in terms of local activity, in terms month by month, as well as the background to the start of the Civil War from the forecourts, and the occupation of vacant barracks across the county, Westport, Castlebar and others. So it's detail of building the armoured car, the Queen of the West, with a boiler from Mulranney Hotel by number 9 and the local team. There's about the engagements in Ballina, Glendossery, Ballycastle, Balderrick, Clifton, the Battle of Newport, where Michael was captured, the level of destruction of property, rail lines and communications that took place. And then you had the ceasefire on the 30th of April and the internment of thousands. You had the 1923 elections and the internment camps, all detailed and very informative. There's a chapter dedicated to the commemorations. It starts with the background of setting up the organisation and building the strong local on the local views through Lawrence McGovern papers. It profiles over 20 people in there. I think it's two of the commemorations served time in internment camps as well. That was Emily McManaman and Bridget O'Grady. And the roles played were, of course, fundraising, carrying arms, carrying messages, gathering intelligence, caring and catering for the men, protesting with many other ladies attending political meetings seeking the release of prisoners. Also included here is a nice history in terms of the Easter Lily and its launch by Cumann in 1926. When we come on to chapter 6, we're talking about where social history and military history really get entwined. Here we have 50 plus stories, including local and non-local. In here we have stories from those who lost their lives in Kilmina. Captain Seamus McEvely, Patrick Jordan, Patrick Staunton, Thomas O'Donnell, John Collins. In Skerda, Jim Brown, and then in the Civil War period, Jim Morden. You have about Captain Patrick Marley, who was shot accidentally. You have on the also included the likes of John Casey, national teacher in Coolmore, who was Michael Kilroy's teacher, and a strong, he gave a strong Republican outlook on life. He was also the teacher who taught Irish to, in a non-school, let's say, in a social environment, to revive the Gaelic League. And you also have, in terms of the adversaries, you have information in there on Sergeant Francis Butler, RIC, Thomas Hugh Hare Fudge, of the notorious Black and Tan leader. So when we look in terms of individuals, it wasn't always individuals, and chapter 7 looks in terms of the family stories. So you had families and complete families in terms of, in other cases, who were involved in the cause. And this chapter basically looks at those families and the history in terms of, that was across Ireland, in terms of RIC membership, British Army, divided loyalties, and all of that. So that's a complex history. The families included in there: Clark, Feehan, Fergus, Gallagher, Geraghty, Hegarty, Joyce, Kelly, Kilroy, Lyons, MacDonald, McNulty, Mulcrone. So there's a very valuable history contained in those chapters. And then we go on, as we talked earlier about, as time goes on, it's much more difficult to, that some of this information may be lost. So this chapter is conversations with, and first-person accounts that were taken by people who have a rich source of information, likes of John Quinn, Neil O'Donnell, Brendan McLaughlin, Dominic O'Grady, Pat McNulty, Billy Brannan Chambers, Billy Ring Chambers, Jim Dever, Brother Paddy Graven, Thomas Heenan, I think he was pastor since, the Lord of mercy, John Maloney, Jack Malarkey, Martin McMahon, and Mary O'Malley. So it's timely that we get all of that recorded, because, as we said, it would be some of those stories would be lost forever. And last but not least is the songs of resistance and solidarity. And Mick and the team here will be putting a lot of that to music, and there will be verses spoken as well. And I like the introduction in terms of this one. It says, and it is attributed to James Connolly, Songs of Freedom. No revolutionary movement is complete without its poetic expression. Until the movement is marked by the joyous, defiant singing of revolutionary songs, it lacks one of the most distinct marks of a popular revolutionary movement. So basically, I won't go in much more detail in terms of the songs, because that will be done later on as goes through. So that gives you, there's a great value in the appendices that are in the books as well, all the local information in terms of who were in the different companies and the organisational structures. There's great maps associated with it as well, with the book. So lastly, I'd just like to do is basically Tiernaur Oral History Group, Conan Lauer, remember us a cor iloher, mar star minuta agus shosiilta an cantar seo.
Thank you, Anthony. That was great. And it's great to listen to somebody that's spent their life researching and collecting information and writing about it for us in the future. Now, we're going to have Neil O'Donnell now with a recitation, The Patriot's Grave. So Neil, are you there?
patriot's grave. Tear down the creep from the column and let the shaft stand bright and clear. Be silent the wailing music, there is not death in the air. We come not in plaint or in sorrow, and no tears should dim our eyes, and we should not weep o'er the epitaph we did not dare to write. Come hither with glowing faces, the sire, the youth and the child. This grave is a shrine of reverent hearts and hands that are undefiled. Its ashes is inspiration that gives us strength to bear, and swept away decision and nerve the will to dare. In the midst of a tomb a gravestone, and written thereon no word, and behold at the head of the grave a gibbet, a torch and a sword. And the people shall kneel by that gibbet and pray by the nameless stone, for the torch to be lit and the name to be writ, and the sword's red work to be done. Riches of gifts to a nation, death of a living crown, type of the idle manhood to the people's hearts brought down. Fond of the hope we cherish, test of the things we do, Gargon's face for the traitor, and talesman for the true. Sweet is the love of a woman, and sweet is the kiss of a child, sweet is the tender strength and the bravery of the mild, but sweeter than all for embracing all is the young life's perilous price, a young heart laid on an altar as a nation's sacrifice. This was the gift he offered, the upright life he gave. This is the silent sermon of a patriot's nameless grave. Chords struck deep with the keynote, telling us what should save a nation amongst the nations, or forever a nameless grave. It teaches the secret of manhood, the watchword of those who aspire, that man must follow freedom, though it lead through blood and fire. That sacrifice is the bitter draught, that freemen still must quaff, for every patriot's life is that patriot's epitaph. We'll just remember 1798 for a few minutes, and the struggle it was. The Battle of Ross. Up from fitful sleep we wakened at the first peep of the day. There was silence by our campfires, for we knew the task that lay, to be brought to joy or ruin ere the stars would look again on the places of our childhood, hill and river, rath and glen. We were thinking of the dear ones that were left to face the foe. We were praying for the brave ones that were lying cold and low. We were looking on the meadow, staring blank against the sun. Then we thought upon the future and the work that must be done. Fear we knew it not, for vengeance burned deep in every heart. Doubt, why doubt, when everyone but hunger to do a true man's part? On to Ross our pulses quickened, as the word from man to man passed along, and brave John Kelly forward stepped to lead the van. Through the misty summer's morn and by the hedgerows bright we sped, and the lark with joyous music filled the spreading dome o'erhead. And the sun rode up the circle, and the earth began to smile, but our hearts knew naught of pleasure, they were cold as ice the while. Silent all with stony gazes and with lips as tightly locked as death, on we went by flowering thorns through the balmy summer's breath. On till Ross was close upon us, then a shout resounding rose, and like ocean's waves in winter, in we leaped upon our foes. For one brief spell they quivered, then their muskets rang reply, and our boys in hundreds fallen looked their last upon the sky. Still their empty places filling, and we rallied to the fray, as a misty summer's morning wore into a dusty day. Then a figure rose above us, it was a girl's fragile frame, and amongst the fallen soldiers there she walked with eyes aflame, and her voice rang o'er the glamour like a trumpet o'er the sea. Whoso dares to die for Ireland, then let him come and follow me. Then in against the line of soldiers with a gleaming scythe on high, low she trod, although their bullets whistled round, they seemed to pass her by. Then with 1,000 bosoms throbbing, one wild surging shout we gave, and we swept them from our pathways like sand before the wave.
Is going to be Dominic O'Grady and John Hoban doing a few tunes. And while they're setting up, I can see Billy Chambers standing there, and he's waiting for anybody else to come along and sign, any member of the committee to sign the book. He's still looking for signatures, so if you can come along, please, we'd be grateful. And so we're looking for Dominic if he's here. Yeah, yeah.
One, two.
We'll start with a tune called The Wind or The Blackbird. It's called On London, and then it will be followed by a tune called The Wind That Shakes the Barley. I have a song here to sing now, and it's a brand new song. It's a song that has only had one other outing, and it's the name of the song is Tiernaur. It's a song about Ernie O'Malley, and I wrote it. I wrote this song about a year and a half ago, about Ernie O'Malley, and the only time I sung it was with his son Cormac was launching a book in Castlebar, and I sung it there. So there's three parts in the song, and the first part is set up, growing up in Castlebar. The second part is at the standing outside the GPO on Easter Monday in 1916, and the third part, and what that involved, and the third part of the song is now, is these days. So I'll sing it for you. It's a short song, but it's once upon a time, and a very good time it was, Nanny passed on the good word in song and in story to you. As a goss or Tiernaur, it stood you well as you cycled all over the land, a sheltered individual drawn towards freedom, drawn from an Irish life of secure seclusion, drawn into a life of responsibility and of action. In your own words, Tiernaur, which come to me today as I'm taken in the islands of Clouet. So shoulder high your hurleys, boys, keep your rifles bright,
Recitation from Noel Marley, if you can see him there anywhere in this big crowd. And oh, great, thanks. And can I just say that Billy's still going around looking for signatures. We're looking for Margot Joyce, Margaret Joyce, and Richie Joyce, and Kevin Morton. So if you can have a look for Billy, we'd appreciate it. And now over to Noel. Thank you.
Thanks very much. This recitation would have been written around 1910 or 12 or thereabouts. It was just as the land wars had happened and Davitt and Parnell were in full flight. And it goes back to 1798. So it's a rallying call to the Irish people to get behind the men who are fighting and to fight under the flag of the Irish Republic. And the name of the recitation is the Green Banner. And it was brought to Newport by a man called Pat Hughes, who was a soldier in the World Wars, who came to ramble the roads around Newport and Glenhest and Tiernaur and Kilmeen and round and about. And my own father, God rest him, and Tommy Hanahan often had him out in Glenhest, and they got a lot of songs and recitations from him, and this is one of them. It's a short enough recitation. Raise it up, the old green banner, it's so pure unsullied still, as when Father Murphy raised it on the slopes of Owlart Hill. The Wexford pikemen routed all the forces of the crown, and we raised the old green banner over Enniscorthy town. When Humbert's forces landed on Killala's waved wash shore, we united our green banner with the Frenchman's tricolour. 'Twas our one big consolation, a great red shining star, when we ran those English redcoats from the town of Castlebar. Yet beneath the old green banner we record our greatest loss, when that noble son, young Emmett, met his fate at Harold's Cross. And although Dwyer surrendered neath the banner later on, for 5 years he battled Britain, though the odds were 10 to 1. Soon we got our consolation, and the ranks fell into line, when Dan forced emancipation from their hands in 29. And Peel and Wellington dreaded the attack of Irish steel, when that fiery son, John Mitchell, raised the standard of repeal. And for love of that green banner, some 300 miles away, lie the brave Manchester martyrs in unconsecrated clay. But the landlords soon they trembled, and the tyrants down they fell, when we raged beneath the banner raised by Davitt and Parnell. So rise up the old green banner, throw its green folds to the breeze, show it to the Saxon tyrant, shout this out by land and sea, that the flag brave Father Murphy raised on storied Owlart Hill in the hearts and minds of Ireland is revered and cherished still. Thank you.
Hold on.
Well, thanks very much for that, Noel. That was very stirring. And now we're going to have some music. I'll be handing you over to our music director, Mick McCrow, and his team here.
I just got a promotion. Yeah, we're going to sing. We're going to sing some songs from the book. It's been said that history is usually written by the victors and the powerful, but embedded in songs are history of the people. And most of these songs haven't been sung in a long, long time. One of the songs dates from the time before the famine, two are from the time of the land wars, and then there's songs, a lot of songs about the Civil War. We're going to sing a handful of them now for you, as soon as we all get lined up.
Right, can we have some quiet down the back there so you can hear the music, please?
1, 2, go on.
Run.
Hiya, how are you getting on? I was saying,
Hi! And there at the back, please. Can we have some quiet? We want to hear the music down here.
on there.
Okay, we're going to start Charlie Keating. Charlie was generous enough to put, I came up with the manuscripts of 6 songs without airs to them. And over the course of the winter, Charlie put airs to them, and he's going to start with one of them now. And this first song dates to before the time of the famine. And it's about some men locally that were transported under false circumstances. So it's a very, very, very old song. It hasn't been sung probably well over 100 years.
One, two. Okay. Ready? Okay. It was to gain favor the deceiver made home, because they were faithful to the Church of Rome. They couldn't find favor when polling in Castlebar. All this war, they were white boys, and they sent them away so far. John Bryce of Carrick and agents of Derrycal also. John Duggan of Knocktobber and John Kavanagh of Knockarua. They were all transported by that crooked malign fool who sells rice and treacle in the parish of Borashoe. It was no wonder that the grass where he walked didn't grow. If the ground split asunder and buried him down below, if thunder and lightning could consume his wretched poor soul, for sending those young men away from Bordeaux. It was to gain favor that deceiver brought them from home, because they were faithful to the Church of Rome. They couldn't gain members when polling in Castlebar.
swore they were white boys, and he sent them away so far. Thank you very much.
Now, Johnny, on my far left, is going to sing a song about Michael Davitt. And we're going to do the Newport Volunteer first instead. And this is a song from the Civil War about Jim Moran, who was shot in Glenmara. It was by the Free State. It was the last major engagement in this area between the anti-treaty Republicans and the Free State.
One. This song, the late great Mick Lavelle, all the rest is now be soul, sang this on it's actually up on YouTube at all places singing this song. It's the same lyrics but with a different ear. It's called the Newport Volunteer. Oh, Newport, foremost in the fight, when freedom's war began, many the heroes lost his life, many the weapons gone. Another song of grief and woe, we raise our glass and cheer. Another Arthur has laid low, and you go volunteer. Oh yes, he was a gallant's man and a patriot wise and true. When Kilroy waved the flag on high, what did Jim Morton do? For the Republic he did stand in his heart, there was no fear. He raised a rifle in his hand, the Newport Volunteer. When in the fight he was as brave as loud his rifle rang. What little he knew he'd meet old Cahey's northern gang. All the spies they were thick around, his hour of death was near. For the Free State blood let him surround the Newport Volunteer. He quickly was business and he prayed to God on high. The shots came through the hills around and bleeding he died. Several bullets pierced him through, God help his mother dear. He lived and died for Ireland, the Newport Volunteer. Oh, Newport rebels shed a tear for the comrades that are gone. For in Shoe, young Morton lies, he was a gallant man. And all of you who think of him will think of a man with no fear. He lived and died for Ireland, the Newport Volunteer. He lived and died for Ireland, the Newport Volunteer. Hello.
I've been asked to tell you that there's tea and coffee in the foyer, and I've been asked to also ask you to quiet it down a little bit. There'll be more raucous music later, and you can make lots of noise. Can you hear me there? Okay, that was Johnny Fadgen. This song, next song is got it from Patsy Gibbons, and her mother used to sing it in her 90s. And it's kind of a funny song. It's got a big range of characters. One is John Dillon, who was a big shot in the Irish Parliamentary Party. T.P. O'Connor, who was a bagman for the Irish Parliamentary Party. He'd go over to America and collect money. And it's about an imaginary meeting with King George and Queen Mary. It's around the time of when recruitment was being thought about, or actually conscription was being thought about during World War I. King George met Joe Devlin a long time ago, and he said, "Good morning, how do you do, Joe? Would you call in for breakfast and see Mary too?" "I'll be Goris," says Joe, "I don't mind if I do." To the palace they rambled, T.P. was there. John Dillon, he sat on the plush-covered chair. "Would you all," said Queen Mary, "have some Irish stew?" "I'll be Gor," and they roared with one voice, "We don't mind if we do." Sinn Féiners, says Georgie, are ruining my plan. De Valera, their leader, he is a strong man. Would you tell him his flag should be red, white, and blue? "I'll be Goris," says Joe, "I don't mind if I do." Behind prison bars they should all be, said Joe. When you had them before, sure you let them all go, to spread their sedition in each county round, and to knock back the men with the 400 pounds. "That's right," said T.P., "I'll agree with you there. The rod on the rebels, old Georgie don't spare. The whole world over they have me knocked flat. I'm just back from the States with a big empty hat." Recruitment, says Mary, is now very low. To the trenches in Flanders the Irish won't go. Why not try conscription? Oh, Joe, says what you? Oh, be God, says Joe, there'll be hell if we do. For the flag of Sinn Féin everywhere it do fly, and down with the party is now Ireland's cry. The green, white, and orange, alas and alack, has taken the place of the old Union Jack. Tooraloo, tooralay, really idle down there, oh dilly idle down day. Tooraloo, tooralay, skiddy idle down there, oh dilly idle down day. That's it.
I'm going to do a song, a local song here about
Eunice, this is a local song.
this is a
Happens
song
just
about
outside.
a man called James Hunter who lived here back in the early 1900s. And I'll give you a blast of this. It's sort of a One, two, three, you ready? Up. This man, James Hunter, he was a grazer here. He was a gentleman farmer. But he leased some 2,000 acres from the Earl of Altamont. And as the consequences of it, as a Scottish man, I suppose, he started forgetting about the local laws and So it's a sectarian song, really. James is buried up there. If you ever want to go up into the graveyard there in Newfield, there's a Presbyterian church there, and behind the Presbyterian church, poor James is buried. Are you ready? Shut. Oh, the hunter is dead, says the Shan Van Vogt. And the devil's at his head, said the Shan Van Vogt. Oh, hunter is dead, and the devil's at his head. And hell will be his bed, says the Shan Van Vogt. Jack O'Neill was put in, said the Shan Van Vogt. And he wouldn't shoot at him, says the Shan Van Vogt. Jack O'Neill was put in and he wouldn't shoot at him. And thank God he's out again, said the Shan Van Vogt. Oh, hunter's lying low, says the Shan Van Vogt. He's beyond the Weaver's Row, says the Shan Van Vogt. Oh, hunter's lying low, he's beyond the Weaver's Row. And he'll never rise, good Joe, says the Shan Van Vogt. Billy Piss is dead and damned, says the Shan Van Vogt. He takes hunter by the hand, says the Shan Van Vogt. Billy Piss is dead and damned, he takes hunter by the hand. Let the orange go be damned, says the Shan Van Vogt. Oh, we made our hunter run, says the Shan Van Vogt. With our double-barreled gun, says the Shan Van Vogt. Oh, we made poor hunter run with our double-barreled gun. And it was then we had the fun, says the Shan Van Vogt. Tiernaur boys beware, says the Shan Van Vogt. Of the peelers take care, says the Shan Van Vogt. Tiernaur boys beware, of the peelers take care. 'Cause I know they'll be there, says the Shan Van Vogt. Oh, hunter was well fed, says the Shan Van Vogt. When he got a dose of lead, says the Shan Van Vogt. Oh, hunter was fed when he got a dose of lead. But it never reached his head, says the Shan Van Vogt. Oh, it never reached his head, says the Shan Van Vogt. That's what they're doing here now, 160 years ago. Thank you.